Hello, I'm Wes Turnbull, and welcome to Freemasons The Inside Story. In this episode, Grandmaster Hillel Benedykt and Deputy Grandmaster Don Reynolds share their vision for the future of Freemasonry in Victoria. Jim Spreadborough shows us some more treasures in From the Archives. But first up, Justin White meets Victoria Police Chaplain Dr. John Broughton.
I'm here with Reverend Dr. John Broughton, the Victoria Police Chaplain. Thanks very much for joining us, John.
Thanks, Justin.
John, I believe that you're the only senior police chaplain that's full-time. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Victoria Police and how many chaplains there are?
Sure. Victoria Police is divided across the state into 58 what we call PSAs or police service areas, and we endeavour to have a police chaplain in each of those PSAs. We also have police chaplains to the high stress areas such as homicide, major collisions, forensics, child and sexual abuse, the transit area, these special operations group, those really high stress areas. And we also have 8 of the world's major faiths represented within our network as well. So whereas we once used to have to go outside the police for a faith leader, we now have police confidentiality and that sort of thing, privacy. We can deal with issues within our chaplaincy network.
Sounds like you've got your work cut out for you and you're pretty busy.
It's busy, it's 24/7, there's a lot of travel across the state, but I think as all chaplains, we love being with people. Everybody's got a story, and that's what we enjoy about our job.
We're standing in this beautiful part of the chapel, which is known as the Blue Chapel. Can you tell us a little bit about what it means and the significance of the Blue Chapel?
Sure. This is a very special part of the main chapel. We call this the spiritual home of Victoria Police. This particular chapel is a little side chapel. It's called the Blue Chapel or the Chapel of Remembrance, and in here we have plaques dedicated to police officers who have actually lost their lives in the line of duty. So we start with like Kennedy, Lonigan and Scanlon, who were murdered by the Kelly gang, through to, unfortunately, Tony Clark, who died in 2005. Thankfully we've had nothing since. So that's this chapel, and on the other side we have the Pink Chapel, and that's where any family can put a plaque in there in recognition and remembrance of a police officer who has died of natural causes.
And John, just lastly, the chapel is open just to Victoria Police, or is it open for other services as well?
It's a public space, but priority is always given to police officers, and it's used a fair bit. I mean, there's graduations, there's award ceremonies, you know, there's all sorts of things happen here, swearing-in ceremonies. So the chapel is used pretty regularly, and it's, as I said, it's amazing the number of people that come into it who don't have a religion or a faith, but they just come in here and they say, wow, there's just something spiritually sensitive about this place, and we believe there is.
Thank you very much for your time today, Dr. John.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks.
Inner suburban Fitzroy is home to Melbourne's bohemian culture. An edgy mix of alternative, artistic and trendy elements, it has a fascinating collection of young designer and retro clothes shops, bookshops and cafes. But did you know its Freemasons connection? On December 23, 1839, 21 Freemasons met together and drew up a petition to form a Masonic lodge. The petition was sent to Sydney for approval, as at the time Freemasonry in the Port Phillip district was under control of the colony of New South Wales. For the meantime, however, the Freemasons of the Port Phillip district were given a special dispensation warrant, which allowed them to meet as a lodge. It is recorded that one of the Freemasons brought the dispensation warrant back to Melbourne from Sydney on horseback, so the lodge could commence meeting officially. George Brunswick Smythe was the first worshipful master of the lodge and the horseback rider who delivered the dispensation warrant to Melbourne. Captain George Brunswick Smythe was the officer in charge of police in the Port Phillip district. He gave an oration at the consecration of the first Masonic lodge, but his position of magistrate for the district prevented him from attending any further meetings. By 1843 he had returned to England, but eventually he moved back to Australia, settling in Fitzroy, and his memory is perpetuated in Melbourne by Brunswick Street being named after him.
Joining me again today is the new Grand Master of Freemasons Victoria, Hillel Benedykt, and the new Deputy Grand Master, Don Reynolds. Gents, thanks for joining me.
Good to be here, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
So an organisation with such a long heritage and a large membership base, what's your vision as you take on the leadership mantle?
When I joined Freemasonry in the mid-70s, it was a much larger organisation than it was today, and it was a great experience to meet with men of all different ages, all different professions, all different religions. That still holds true today. But I think back then, I just got the feeling that we enjoyed our Freemasonry a lot more, and we seem to have perhaps caught some of the negativity that's in society today generally. And I think we've got an opportunity to, while maintaining and if not increasing the level of respect everybody has for Freemasonry in the community, perhaps enjoying our journey a bit more. And I think if there's somebody that's in Freemasonry and they've been in there for a period of time and they're not enjoying it, maybe Freemasonry is not for them.
I wonder if I can ask you a little more about that, because you've said on a few occasions that you think tradition and respect are important characteristics for Freemasonry. How do you want to bring those things out more during your time as Grand Master?
One of the areas I think that's happened, and I see it as I travel around, is that there are people that are quite vocal, and there's quite a number of people that are not. They just go along for the ride, and I refer to them in many ways as the silent majority. And sometimes their experience is dampened by what I would call the squeaky wheel. So how do we address that? You try and encourage the people that have been long-serving, loyal members of our organisation that really do believe in our core values, and they are the genuine Freemasons. And I said at an address I gave to a Masonic group some time ago, we have people that are members of the organisation and we have genuine Freemasons as part of the organisation. We need to try and sort out those two groups and get the ones that have just joined to make them feel part and embrace the values. And if they don't, as I said before, perhaps Freemasonry is not for them. We want to be in an organisation with like-minded, motivated people that support the values, are happy to be there and enjoying the experience.
Don, would you like to comment on that also?
Look, I tend to obviously agree with that, Wes. We've got a wonderful organisation that sometimes gets spoiled by a few. Certainly in our lodges, if you're not happy to ask your friend to a lodge meeting, and I'm talking a non-Freemason to the south, or even invite one of your mates to join Freemasonry because you have an issue with the lodge, then you need to talk up. You need to speak about it. You need to make sure that your views are known so that you are happy to ask a colleague, a friend, to join you in Freemasonry, because Freemasonry will benefit by that, but more than likely your friend will benefit by that as well.
Now, in this year, Freemasonry in Victoria celebrates 125 years for the Grand Lodge in its current form. What have been the significant changes over that period of history for the Grand Lodge?
I think the fact that the organisation, did have enormous growth after the Second World War and has subsequently had a bit of a decline, has meant that some of our infrastructure has been designed to suit membership 10 times the size potentially of what we have today. So we've got a major task in managing that for the future. As I said, the core values haven't changed in those 125 years, and that's what we must never lose sight of, or never think that's something we want to change. So there's certain areas of what we do that we never ever want to see changed, and I think we just want to celebrate the success of being here 125 years later, and know confidently that it'll still be here in another 125 years, and we want to do what we can to ensure its sustainability and relevance.
I think part of the other side of that too, Wes, is that instead of, and I call it the stop-start, there was a time there that Grand Masters made policy, and that lasted for 2 years, and when their deputy came in, it got changed again. So I think one of the big changes that we've seen in Freemasonry and Grand Lodge is the strategic plan, which I think first came into place in 2003. It's been upgraded on a regular basis, and I think that as a blueprint moving to the future is probably one of the most significant changes that I've seen in probably the last decade in Freemasonry, and I think it's working.
And how have the members' expectations of the organisation changed over that time?
Look, I think members' expectations move in line with society, and people are just expecting more service, more offerings, more information, better service, better responsiveness. As I said, current technology, they want us to be on Facebook, they want us to be on the internet. So the expectations increase, and we have to continue to deliver a level of service that is both attractive, that will retain our members, attract new members, and, as I said, ensure our sustainability.
Now, you mentioned celebration in this 125th anniversary year. What sort of things can the members and the community expect from Freemasons Victoria as it celebrates this milestone?
As the year has started, there's a range of merchandise that's available acknowledging the 125 years. You'll see the Deputy Grand Master is wearing a lapel badge that celebrates that 125 years, and there's a number of other items for sale at the moment. And we're building up to a week of celebration.
A significant year for both you and for the organisation and its members. We wish you well, and thank you for speaking to us today.
Thanks very much, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
I'm here today with Richard Jones, who's a member of Comacine Acanthus Lodge. Thanks for joining us today, Richard.
Thanks, Jeremy.
So how long have you been a Freemason for?
Just on 12 months coming up this year.
Nice. Now, I understand you're a fellowcraft Freemason?
Correct.
Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Well, fellowcraft Freemason is the second rank of 3 in the Blue Lodge structure. You begin your Masonic career basically as an entered apprentice, and then after some time you go through a series of I guess, trials within your lodge, and based on what your mentors and other members of the lodge feel they think you're ready, you'll go on and progress to the second level, which is what I'm currently doing now. And after that, I'll progress to the 3rd degree, which is Master Mason.
And what was involved in that initiation ceremony for that first time you joined Freemasonry? How was that?
Well, initially it was a series of I think meetings with the members of the lodge that I'm with. You get to meet them individually or as a group in what they call the South, which is just a social gathering after their lodge meeting, and you just share meals and a few drinks and some conversation with them, and then after a certain amount of time they invite you to try out as a entered apprentice. And the entered apprentice process is just a situation where you're prepared by certain members of the lodge, and you go through a ceremony in lodge, which is a whole series of questions that you need to answer, and then you just progress from there.
Thank you. And how have your family and friends felt about you becoming a Freemason?
Very supportive. I initially approached my partner Christine about that, and she looked at me and said, "If that's what you want to do, do it." At that stage she didn't quite understand what it was. I explained to her some of what I understood at the time. I've had an interest in Freemasonry since my early teens, so I've had a long time to consider, whether I wanted to do this or not. And then an opportunity came up from a friend at work who was a member of my lodge, and I asked him how do I go about to join, and he just basically said contact a lodge or come to even here to Dallas Brooks, which I did initially, and after some discussions with two people in particular, I was able to get the ball rolling and become a member.
Okay, thank you. And looking forward, what are your goals in Freemasonry at this stage?
There's many. I have some mentors in my lodge who are going to help me progress as far as I can. I'm going for my Master Mason's degree in March this year, and from there I guess it's just a matter of continuing my interest in some of the charity sides of the craft. Masonic study. I actually want to do the diploma studies at some stage. And later on, probably get involved with the Mark Mason.
And I understand you're a SES volunteer as well.
Yes, I joined the SES in Roeville, where I live, around about the same time I decided to join the Freemasons. So yeah, it'll be coming up 12 months since I've been a member there as well.
And what are the sort of things you get involved with the SES?
Well, initially we become involved with fundamental activities like search rescue, first aid. We do a lot of PR activities with primary schools. We get a lot of help from affiliated emergency services, the police, CFA, Melbourne Fire Brigade, and yeah, we do other things like alpine search rescue, road crash rescue, and basically hopefully to keep the community safe.
And when you're not being a Freemason and saving people from the forest, do you have a 9-to-5 job?
Yes, I work with a company called Fantech, and I'm an assembler, and I build and test industrial and commercial fans.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Richard, for coming in and talking a little bit about your story, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks very much, Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jim Spreadborough. Welcome to From the Archives. Ivory. You have to get a close-up of this sort of thing, and these are some working tools of a Freemason in ivory. Absolutely incredible how they could make it and make it like they did. There are some more here in pewter, which they'd made. This here, fancy decanter this, for your red wine or scotch. It's Royal Dalton, and it has incredible Masonic symbols which have been glazed onto this particular object. Again, a fantastic item. Another piece of ivory. It's hallmarked, the bottom part here. Magnificent little piece. This here, cutthroat razor. When you get a close-up of that, you'll see all the Masonic objects on it. And I'll tell you what, it's still sharp. Now this thing here, one of these, what is it? Well, we never used this in the 1850s, early 1900s in Victoria. It was used in another state in Australia and a lot of lodges and constitutions in Europe. What it was used for, they'd put a candle up here. When they had torches, they'd put a torch. So if the lodge happened to have the lights off at a particular time, the light would come through here or there onto some documents that they had to be writing at the time, so they didn't lose any continuity of it all. Object on the top. In some Masonic lodges, sometimes there's a bell rung, and what we call high 12. The person who had that would be going, etc. for high 12. Something from the 1860s.
Thanks for joining us. To find out more about Freemasonry, visit the Freemasons Victoria website at www.freemasonsvic.net.au or phone us on 1800 Freemason. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, LinkedIn and Google+. See you next week.